Brian Jensen is here on behalf of the Department of Public Works, Deputy Chief Libby, also known as Chief Libby, on behalf of Fire, Lee Hayes on behalf of the Building Department, myself, Nate Reichert, on behalf of Zoning and Planning. Officer Parthen is excused for a conflict. Let's go with called order. You want to do 91A?
This meeting is being conducted in accordance with NHRSA 91A and is being held in the City Council chambers in Lebanon City Hall and also through the city's virtual platform. Please note that if there is a problem with the virtual platform, the meeting will continue as the only legal requirement under RSA 91A is to have an in-person meeting. For those attending in person, if you have a comment or question during any public comment portion of the meeting, please step forward when recognized by the chair. For anyone participating remotely or by phone, if you have a comment or question during a public comment portion of the meeting, please unmute yourself and begin speaking when prompted by the chair. Before speaking, please state your name and community of residence. If appropriate, please be prepared to spell your name for the recording secretary.
Thank you. Notice of regional impact. I don't believe we have any notice of regional impact for this evening's or this afternoon's meeting. So we'll move on to item number 3, public hearing items. Item A, MSBC 325 LLC, tax map 48 lot 9, zoned R1. Applicant is applying for minor site plan review to add approximately 750 square foot of impervious surface to the property at 325 Mount Support Road, PB 202641 MSP. Mr. Cass is here on behalf of his application. So with that, you want to guide us through what you got, what you want?
Sure, thank you. Would you like me to spell my name?
I think we got that one for the record.
Okay. So I'm the manager of MSBC 325. MSBC 325 LLC owns the property at 325 Mount Support Road. The southern, it's a little more than half of the property. It's probably 55 to 56% of the property had been occupied by Hypertherm for about 17 and a half years. In a all good things must come to an end kind of way. Hypertherm has engaged in some contraction in the Upper Valley and released all their rented spaces and sold excess buildings and moved back to basically their primary campuses on Heater Road and Great Hollow Road, leaving the space about to be vacant. Hypertherm has a peer company called Criari, which I hope you guys all know. Historically, Hypertherm and Criari were the same company back in the day. Actually, Hypertherm sprouted out of Criari, as did many of the other industrial companies in the Upper Valley. And Criari asked to come in and assume the space that Hypertherm has been using, really for substantially the same purpose that Hypertherm has been using it. And that lease was signed, and the Hypertherm lease ended on March 31st, 26, and Criari's lease started on April 1st, 2026. So it was kind of nice to not have any fallow time. Since then, Criari has been kind of moving into and growing into the space and noticing some things that, I mean, I guess, you know, colloquially I'd say are a little hinky about the space. So although it worked kind of very well, you know, for Hypertherm, one of the things that they noticed was that there's a large high bay Butler building portion of the property, which is in the southwest side. It's kind of the back of the building. Although it's a large high bay space, it is only directly served by a single man door on the side and an interior threshold in between the low bay front area space, which has 2 truck loading docks, and the back. And so Criari said it would make an awful lot more sense to be able to every now and again pull a truck up and directly load via an overhead door to the high bay area. I agreed with them, and so I submitted for a permit to cut the the door, the overhead door in the back area, and that permit has been granted. Work has not started because it's pending on this. Both Deputy Chief Libby and Mr. Hayes had, kind of commented and reviewed on the overhead prior to the approval of that permit. Essentially, the use or kind of the manner in which things transited from the parking lot area to the back, again, was inconvenient one way or the other, right? It was either, loading off a dock into a low bay or essentially doing things in a very ad hoc manner, which basically was, running a forklift over grass to a door, and it was just really weird. So the overhead door that is already permitted to be constructed really is not as useful as it could be without a small drive to be able to get a truck up there. Again, I agree with the analysis that Criari has. And so, this is, it's extraordinarily limited. What I'm asking for, it's so limited that it barely crossed the threshold for a de minimis exemption. Essentially, it's just a drive. There are, Ms. Hembry identified that there are 2 parking spaces that really are in front of where that drive is. My preference, and I think Criari's preference, would really be to, really not lose those spaces per se, because it's incredibly, like Criari just controls entry really into their building and knows when their own deliveries are coming and only their own employees are there. Just to maybe be a little more clear and provide a little more background, Criari does work for the government, and entering their space is restricted to United States citizens with verifiable real ID and check-in. So, suffice to say that, they don't really get guests wandering on in there, right? It's a secure facility. So anyway, all things being equal, I think we'd all prefer not to lose those permanent spaces. But the only other thing that I'd kind of add about this is that the contractor who's going to be doing the work, and I included a copy of the quote from the contractor, and again, it's a relatively de minimis job, really didn't believe there would be any sort of, storm water issues that came about. We kind of said, how about we put some stuff in just in case? We identified some inkberry bushes as really being the logical things to put on in, and the determination was that we plan to, and we're certainly willing to put 4 inkberry bushes on the left side of the driveway, and the plan would be to essentially space them equidistant in case there's anything that does need to be soaked off from bounce off of it. But I really don't think there's going to be any appreciable impact on that. So I think that's basically it. I mean, I also, maybe Mr. Vincent doesn't know this, but I think everybody else in the room knows that the northern side has been a bit of the bane of my existence over the course of this year, and there's some just dealing with, what in the end I'd say is a fundamental trespass and vandalism case, and there's a extant investigation on that, and it may be the death of me before it's over, but my hope is that the space is going to be restorable to the condition it was in before, and if we have a change of use or something that alters in that, I'll be having a discussion with Mr. Reichert about that as well. Our belief is that we had intended for the space to be turned from its office and industrial into a school. It never was actually changed into the school. It was just destroyed. So we're kind of where we were before, but obviously it's going to have to be rebuilt, and the city's going to be involved in that rebuilding. So really that's, I think that's about it. I don't want to kind of over talk it, but obviously glad to answer any questions. And I think some of you at least have actually kind of been in the space. And to the extent you guys know Hypertherm and Criari, I mean, they're like really tip-top companies. They're really good people. They really do stuff by the book. They take everything very seriously. Hypertherm has had like 2 decades almost in Lebanon now. Creori's been substantially Hanover focused, and as a Lebanon resident, I think dragging them away from Hanover and into Lebanon is something we want more of, because they're the type of company we'd probably be happy to have here.
So I guess we'll open up to questions for members of the board. Are there any questions that you had in your initial reviews? And if not, we can get into more deep discussion. I think there's a couple things I want to discuss further, but Brian, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just wondering about the driveway cross-section. Would you envision a crown driveway or one that might slope in one direction or the other in terms of its cross slope? You know what I'm saying?
So I am like the farthest away from an engineer as possible, okay? But my sense is that it is highly likely to have a very slight slope in favor of where the ink berries are going to be planted.
Yeah.
Because the water will be directed to where it is likely to get
Yeah.
soaked up.
I would recommend like a 2% cross slope all in one direction toward the rear or to the left as you head in through the driveway. Just because usually when they build driveways, they raise and grade a little bit from the earth around it, and then you just want to avoid any puddles on the upside. And it looks like the land naturally slopes downward to the,
Right.
I guess that's west.
The bottom is the south, the back is the west.
Yeah, toward the west, it looks like to me, or southwest.
Yeah.
So that would just be a recommendation to avoid puddles. But otherwise, 12 feet, it might be a little tight for big trucks on the turn, but it's up to you if you think that's enough.
I don't think they're even having big trucks. My
Okay.
sense is maybe a box truck
Okay.
is, kind of, what they have. But thank you. And I have no objection to, like any reasonable best practice in doing that type of stuff.
Will you plow it year-round, do you think?
Me personally, or will
Somebody, I mean,
somebody, if it is going to be used, it will be plowed.
yeah, okay.
You comment on the question about the 2 parking spaces, and I think if you see the sort of the end of the line of where the new driveway is going to be, those 2 parking spaces, from an engineering perspective, what's your thoughts on?
Well, I mean, practically speaking, it's an operational thing in my mind. So let's say we know a delivery's coming today. If it was me, I'd put 2 cones out or a sign that says no parking today or something, so that nobody parks there and they gotta move later. If this was open to the public, like a grocery store, that probably wouldn't be a very good way to manage it. But for a private business that's doesn't get visitors apparently, I don't object to that being a parking space with some kind of delineation of the days of delivery, like a cone or a sign or something that tells people this is not available today. So that's my opinion.
Okay, so you see it more in less of an engineering concern, or, given the fact you don't have,
Yeah, I mean,
it's not a retail shop where you have people coming and going all the
yeah,
time.
and it's not a apartment building where people are relying on parking spaces. I'm assuming there's sufficient parking on the lot that if one's missing, it isn't going to be a detriment to the whole operation. But I don't know that.
Yeah, I think
So
it's,
I'm glad to answer, because last week was the 20-year anniversary of owning the building. So I have like a really, really long experiential, including obviously when the building was fully occupied. I have never seen in full occupancy more than 30 cars on the entire property. And that includes the entire north side, as well. It's just not a heavily trafficked type of use.
and you've got a combination of sort of industrial uses, some office stuff, there's storage, warehouse type of thing. So it's sort of a mixed-use building, literally in any manufacturing situation or industrial situation, you're gonna have that mix. But oftentimes, you don't have that many employees, and the only people that are coming and going are the people that actually work there, so. That might be typically in a parking calculation, Catherine, in your parking analysis that was done so far, I mean, clearly, we have the other piece of it is we don't know quite yet what the new side of the building, the blank side of the building will eventually evolve into.
Like if
But,
it completely changes the use on the other side of the building to, say, office, where it's like one parking place for 200 square feet, it's going to be tight. There's not gonna be enough parking, but if it continues to be an industrial / warehouse / office use, there will be enough parking. We just have to be careful when the next tenant comes in and see what.
Okay, make sure that we can account for every, and there is room on the site if you need, for whatever unknown reason, you need to add parking, you theoretically would be able to do so, because you got plenty of space. You have anything more, Brian? Mr. Libby?
How far away are the underground propane tanks from that road that you're proposing?
So I have not personally measured it. I do believe that the propane tanks are actually much farther away than what's listed there, because that site plan was when the prior provider had tanks, and I believe the tanks are now farther back beyond the dumpsters. But even there, I'd say 25 to 30 feet maybe.
So that's completely fine, underground 5 feet at least. From the road. I'm assuming the boundary lines are, you have enough space for all of that. The other thing I would just recommend that depending on how that watershed is, because it's an underground propane tank, that watershed's that way in the wintertime, that you have the ability to have those valves freeze. And that could be a problem if the valves freeze and you start to have a leak.
So the tanks are above ground.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
Oh, I
the
saw-
line,
said
it's
you-
an underground feed
Okay.
of the line, but the tank itself is above ground, and they're actually above ground because they're sort of mounted above, so they're not even directly resting, so, yeah.
So then it does change a little bit. We would want to make sure that because it's above ground, they have to be 25 feet at least away from that,
Right,
that
I'll-
road. So got to look at that. And then do the underground lines go underneath that road?
So I believe that they will, according to this, because you could see, on the, can you guys, okay.
Yep.
Sorry, I have a bad neck, so I can't turn.
That's okay.
If you look at the underground tanks, you'll see there's an underground line that continues, like that's essentially bisected by this. And I do know that the propane provider was called in for a consult and, like for an assessment of depth and everything else, and gave the okay from their perspective on that. But yes, I do believe it's running under that driveway.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they'll have to do dig safe and all of that stuff in
absolutely.
those areas. So
Absolutely.
And there should be tracer wire or the foiled warning tape for you to be able to find how deep those are, so.
Is there a depth they have to be at?
I think right around, I think it's like 14 inches or something like that, I don't
Well,
know.
it changes if it's going under a driveway or
Right.
a roadway than it
Yeah.
does if it's just on a lawn, so that's something that will need to be
Verified.
verified on what the minimum depth is on that. And they may need to be, reburied at a deeper level.
In that area or the whole line?
Only where it goes
Under the
underneath
ground.
the driveway
Okay.
or the roadway.
If you can, don't forget to turn your mic on when you're talking. That way, because we are, working off of a likely part of the meeting is gonna be, the notes will be taken off the record from the recording, and if we don't, they can't hear us, they can't make notes.
Yep.
So, did you have any other thoughts, concerns?
No, the only other thing would be, I mean, obviously, it looks like we have plenty of space for our fire apparatus to get in there. And even with the new driveway, I'm assuming that it'll be enough where if we had a ladder truck, we could set our outriggers and all of that stuff down. So I'm assuming that it would be solid enough to do that.
Yeah, so I'd say it makes things better for fire service. Because right now, if you had to get to the high bay, you drive over grass, right? So now you're gonna have the driveway that is usable. Additionally, the building is 100% sprinkled and 100% alarmed, so.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's all I had.
That's all you got? Lee, what you got?
There's already, I believe,
based on the building permit application that was received, there's already a separate door that's going to be next to that overhead door. Does that affect the landing or the stair that are come away from that door, away from the building?
No, it doesn't affect any of it. The man door and its access stays completely the same, and this is separate from it. And that was something that in the, whatever the OpenGov, whatever the system is for permits, was like reviewed when we put in on that, because there were questions about the man door remaining the same as well as the overhead door.
Right. I remember asking the questions about the main door. I just wasn't sure the landing or stair at the door, where I'm assuming that you're paving next to what is now the landing and the stair from that door down to grade.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I think it's slightly separated, like, I think the man door is very close to where that corner is on the building. And this goes like farther out. So, you know, I'm not sure that anything really changes with like where the access on the stair landing and man door is, because I don't think that it ties into where the driveway is.
Okay.
You got anything else?
I think that's it.
I have one other thing not pertaining to the site plan, if I can just, I think I put it on my building permit review, but because of that overhead door, that's gonna be making sure that there's a sprinkler head that goes underneath, and I think I put
Yeah.
that in there, so.
Jeff Sykes said Vermont Life Safety is going to be installing that.
Perfect.
And it's going to look very similar. So in the low bay front area, where there are two overhead doors, there's a central pipe that comes down and goes out.
Be off.
And so it's gonna be the same, except it's gonna have, you know, one head where it is instead of the two, like one for the door. So absolutely,
Thank you.
yeah.
Does anybody else have questions, or I can? So we talked about the 2 parking spaces question. I think Brian, seeing that more as an operational question, I would have a tendency to say that, you know, if it becomes a nuisance, and maybe, you know, put up a permanent no parking, but, you know, if it's one where, again, operationally, it's also one where maybe just sort of letting people, if the site is fairly under-parked, letting people know that if they park there and there's a delivery, they're gonna have to move. Brian, do you see your request of a 2% grade as being something we need to do as a condition? Or are you okay with doing that as just a design to occur?
I would say make it part of the record and not necessarily a condition, you know what I mean, like just this meeting.
Do you need any kind of a formal cross-section of the road in any way?
No.
Okay.
No.
As far as distances for the installation of the LP tank, is that something that you need to have in the record, or is that something that you want to have, pick it up when you do LP tank permits? Deputy Chief Libby?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Separation distance for the LP can, you'll pick that up later? Or do we need to add that as a condition, just?
Well, I think what's gonna end up happening is if they're gonna have to redo the lines and go deeper, that would become a mechanical.
A mechanical permit, okay,
Yep, and we could just do it there,
okay.
so.
I mean, the only thing would be to put on the condition is verification of the line depth in compliance with NFPA.
54, 58.
Yep.
It is very possible these things are already known, but not by me. So you might get an email from me, you know, in 2 or 3 days saying, oh, as a matter of fact, Simple Energy already knows this, and, you know, X, Y, Z.
So it seems like you have enough property up there that if it's not 25 feet, then that certainly could be moved, you know, the distance.
They've clearly been moved in the past, because I think every time again, Hypertherm, I let them sort of have their own arrangements, and I remember it was Irving for a while, and then I remember, oh, Dead River's here, and these are in a different place now, because I think they dropped them before the others were picked up, and then Simple's here, but, you know, so it's clearly there's different places they could be, because they have been different places.
And that is one area from a permitting perspective, just as an FYI, as a landlord, I know you you have many tenants that swap things in and out, make sure that whether it's Dead River or Simple or Irving, that they're actually pulling their appropriate permits for those swapped out tanks, because there are things that are required from both fire and building. Some of them are very good at that, some of them are not as good at that. And I would never rely on any of those three providers to say, yes, we have our permits in order, verify that. You know, as they say in Russia, trust but verify.
So I agree, but I will say, you know, again, on my unfortunate experience of education relative to the school debacle, when I looked up kind of the city's records on things on the property, I did find a relatively recent Simple Energy permit. So, you know, I do think that, you know, they've
been doing good.
prudent in being involved.
Yeah, Simple Energy is usually pretty good. But that doesn't mean we get them all the time. Let's see here. Parking, I think we were okay with. Landscaping, you had a couple of the inkberry bushes that you were gonna look at. Lighting was another one that was popped up on some of the staff review. You're not proposing any additional lighting on the site?
Hey, Nate?
Yeah.
Are you gonna open the public at some point, or?
Yeah.
After this? Okay.
Yeah, I will. Do you have, when it comes to lighting this, do we need to light this for any reason?
Not from, trying to think. Parking lot needs to be lit based on site plan regs.
Yeah,
This may be a building, exterior building light. Might be helpful. I'm not sure it's required.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, but
It's not anything that we're gonna look at as being a requirement, but if they do decide they're gonna put a light up and make sure it's not inadvertently casting light out in the neighborhood. With that, at Brian's suggestion, I'll open it up for public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to comment online?
No hands are going up.
And then no one else is present other than Mr. Katz in the audience, so, with that, are there any other questions that we need to wrestle with before we move to some kind of a motion? Any other conditions or thoughts or topics that you guys want to talk about? We got lighting, landscaping, parking question of the 2 parking spaces, the existing and the existing tenant use, and then any proposed tenant use for the open space. We'll need to get Priori a final certificate of occupancy, but that we'll work with the building official on that. I don't think there's anything else. Did you have any other concerns, Catherine, or comments? We did have a use plan that was provided. I'd like to have that put into the record as well, that describes the use of the building over time, which helps sort of document, because it is a legal non-conforming building. It's in a residential zone. It has, because of that, documenting that use, that past use is very helpful as we move forward, and including that in this record is key as we move forward for whatever the use of the building ends up morphing into over time. You know, buildings need to redefine themselves, and unfortunately, when they're in a non-conforming state, that can become troublesome. If you can go through a door and you go from heavy industrial and you go to something that's really light office stuff, and then you want to go back to heavy industrial, sometimes the door closes behind you, and we don't want to have that be the case. So we have a documentation of the history of the building that we'll put into the record. With that, do you guys want me to read? I'm the only one that has the the motion in front of them, so I will read a motion. I, Nathan Reichert, move that the Lebanon Minor Site Plan Committee. Before I do that, do you have any final comments?
No, thank you for hearing me out. It is an adventure being on this side of the table.
Yeah, it is a little different, and I would say for the record, Mr. Katz is the chair of the zoning board. He and I work together on a very regular basis, so I don't believe that I can be or I will be in any way biased because of that relationship that we have. We have a solid professional relationship, and we tell each other the truth as we know it, and that's all we can do. So with that stated, I move that the Lebanon Minor Site Plan Committee approve the application of MSB 325 LLC regarding 325 Melsport Road, tax map 48, lot 9, zoned to R1, PB 2026-41 MSP for site plan review pursuant to sections 3.1.c and 3.2 of the Lebanon Site Plan Review Regulations for increase in the amount of improved surface by approximately 780 square feet, including any and all submissions and testimony provided during the public hearing with the following conditions. General conditions, except as otherwise modified pursuant to this approval and the conditions of the approval below, the site plan shall set referenced herein shall remain in full force and effect. 2, the approval shall automatically expire and be deemed void upon failure to meet any of the conditions and approval set forth herein with a time frame specified. It shall be the applicant's responsibility to be familiar with and be aware of these conditions of approval, and it shall be the applicant's responsibility to satisfy these conditions of approval and satisfy them within the relevant timeframes outlined below. Building permit must be applied for and issued within 2 years of the date of the approval pursuant to section 410A. Conditions precedent of satisfied prior to application for building permit and prior to the start of any construction activities. The development is subject to the City of Lebanon impact fees pursuant to section 213 of the zoning ordinance. The impact fee shall be calculated at the time of the building permit issuance based upon the impact fee schedule adopted on May 20th, 2024. A completed impact fee invoice and acknowledgement form shall be completed and by the applicant and submitted with the building permit application. All water and sewer fees shall be paid and set forth per City Code Chapter 68. Certificate of occupancy of any present tenants must be granted by that building official. Verification of a line, verification of the underground LP line is required prior to the driveway installation to ensure appropriate depth is being maintained. Conditions to be satisfied prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, impact fees calculated if applicable to the conditions set forth under number 4 shall be paid. All improvements depicted on the plan shall be completed, shall be constructed as depicted on the approved plan, including any modifications to the plan as may be approved by the Minor Site Plan Committee in accordance with the site plan review regulations. Finally, the applicant shall discontinue the use of that one we can strike. Don't need that one. And that is it for the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Deputy Chief Libby. Is there
Hang on.
any discussion? Yes.
Do you mind if I just ask 2 questions?
Um,
I know it's not,
yeah, go ahead. We're an informal bunch.
I know that it's standard boilerplate with impact fee and sewer.
Yeah.
Because this has gone from occupied to occupied with the same use, I'm fine with getting you guys in to check it out for occupancy, but there shouldn't be any impact fees or water and sewer.
Likely not. It's just part of the boiler.
Okay. just wanted
Either
to
way,
make
it's
sure.
it's a box we're gonna have to figure out to make sure that if it is triggered for whatever unknown reason, if there is something significant enough that would trigger it, then it's triggered. If not, then, but it's a box we have to check.
Okay, and sorry, one last thing, because I got just a differing view. Does the driveway itself require the application for a building permit?
The driveway doesn't, but the door does.
He's doing that.
We already have the permit for the door.
Yep.
So
Okay. So
I
we're
think
good.
the driveway is under a site plan permit, which is this approval will get you ready to go.
Great, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
And then, but before that begins, clearly you got to get the LP tank question
Nate,
finalized.
can I
Yeah.
just add, you don't need a driveway permit because you're not coming off of a
Sure,
right away.
great.
So,
Just wanted to make sure, because I think I've been pretty good at getting permits in, and I didn't want to miss something.
Any other questions? If not, we have a motion on the table with the second. Everybody vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Congratulations, Mr. Katz. Best of luck with your project and your,
Thank you for hearing me out.
hopefully you find a new tenant on the other side.
Fingers crossed.
And again, as you work through this, you know, make sure you keep good touch with Chief Libby and with Mr. Hayes so that they can get that CO figured out for Criari.
Yeah, I'm back in town next week, if you guys wanna go and check it out. You know, just gotta give them a few days' notice.
Huh? So I know there was a big electrical permit that was filed,
Let us know
some other stuff.
If there's paperwork that has to be filled out, I know with some of these governmental places, you have to fill out some paperwork and make sure you either bring in a passport or whatever to.
Yeah,
to
they
get this.
seem to be pretty good, there's an affirmation, are you a US citizen, you know, everything else. I don't know if you've ever, again, I think that, we're not being recorded, I don't know if you've ever, actually seen what they do, but I mean, like spaceships work because of these guys. I mean, like, literally, like satellites don't happen without the research they do, and I think that's something that, I've lived up here for 33 years, I never knew that they did that stuff until I got a tour.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Anyway. All right.
Well, definitely congratulations on,
Thank you.
and with that, I think the only thing we have remaining is minutes from our previous meeting, unless somebody has other business that needs to come before us. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of July 9th, 2026?
I
Moved
make
by,
a motion that we approve the minutes as read.
okay, seconded by Mr. Hayes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Mr. Hayes moves we rise, seconded by Deputy Chief Libby. All those in favor can leave. All those opposed have to stay here.
Aye.
We are adjourned.